to go back to in Pacific Palisades, and the Santa Ana winds are kicking up again. The winds are kicking up again. Just what they do not need out there. Good morning. Good morning, New Hampshire. Good morning, Maine. Jack, Heath, J Dog. And we're in our capital region studios, our headquarters here, brand new studios here just a few months ago. Beautiful. I feel like we could move in here. J Dog, hope you had a good weekend. We're looking at a pretty okay Monday. In fact, it's going to be milder than it's been before things get a little more seasonable midweek. Good morning up into Maine. Good morning, New England. Good morning, worldwide. Hey, Google. Hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of NH. Now, J Dog, you're going to have to help me out here a little bit because now we're everywhere. The Pulse of NH on X, our daily poll question. We're kicking off in a moment. YouTube, if you want to watch this show, make it easy for you. It's a uniform code, if you will. It's like having a password. YouTube, just go to the Pulse of NH. You can watch us. You can listen to us streaming, any smart device. Cell phone, smartphone. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google, play the Pulse of NH. We're just about everywhere. You can also go and learn about our cowboy trip on the pulseofanh.com. That's October 7th. A lot of you, we announced it Friday, have already signed up. We'll tell you more about that. A week going out to see everything from Yellowstone and the buffalo on the range to Jackson Hole to Deadwood, you name it, and the pulseofanh.com. But we're kicking off a daily poll question right now. And it's pretty obvious given what's going on out there with the wildfires. Do you think Governor Newsom has led effectively? He's in charge, the governor, in terms of stemming the wildfires and the management in terms of National Guard and everything else. Do you think he's been an effective leader? Yes or no? It's a simple question on X, just yes or no. Do you think the governor has done a good job leading this? I don't. What do you think? I think it's been finger pointing and blaming. I don't know if he knows he's in charge, but go to X, the Pulse of NH on X, and vote. J-Dog. Before we get into some of the heavy duty stuff, we got a packed show for you. More reaction to really the next 2 years now as the budget and all that other stuff takes over in Concord. This week in Washington, and by the way, 1 week from today, Donald Trump back in the White House. That's it, 1 week. But this week on Capitol Hill, we're going to have some interviews pertaining to this. The VA choice, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, some of the big nominations or who Trump wants in there will be going before the Senate lawmakers. That's this week. So we have a lot going on as we get going. And J-Dog, before we get into some of the news talk of the day, I watched a lot of football, and I'm sure many folks did on Saturday and Sunday, including right up until the Commanders' surprise win. But not surprised the Eagles pulled it off. What any big some of the games kind of went the way, Buffalo made easy work in the end of the Broncos. What were your thoughts? At least you're honest. Uh-oh. 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 Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, watching that Bills game, and it wasn't a shocker because in the beginning, the Broncos got on the board quick, and that was it. I mean, I have to tell you, I'm sure, and it's not a surprise, but I'm sure Patrick Mahomes was watching Josh Allen do just about everything on the field. He began the game using his legs, like I think he ran 12 or 13 times, first downs, you name it, and then he used his arm, and you could have taken him out in a whole quarter to go, and the Bills had that thing locked up. Yeah, and they look pretty. Now, J Dog, with the game tonight, the Vikings, that L.A. Rams, that what's been moved to Arizona. And no big surprise, Mike Vrabel, they wrapped that up pretty quickly. Had new head coach of the Patriots, and it's being incredibly well received. People are excited in Patriots Nation. It looks like for Vrabel coming back to take over. He's got more experience, obviously, as a coach than Gerard Mayo did. His former great player, former great teammate, buddies. But Vrabel back in charge, and J Dog rumors that Josh McDaniels, he sold their home out in Vegas. Would he come back as the offensive coordinator? And there's a lot of reports out there that that's what's in the works. I don't know, but Vrabel, he one thing you don't have to worry about, he does know how to run an offense, so maybe not a head coach, but we'll see. All right, coming up, Neil Vek's going to weigh in, St. Anselm College Institute of Politics, just on some of the themes in Concord and in Washington, because we're still in that transitional period. We have a new governor here, but 1 week to go before Donald Trump is back in the White House officially. Of course, people in Great Britain think Trump's already been in there since November 5th. True story. We're going to hear from Anna Brown, Citizens Count, on Kelly Ayotte's blueprint for the next 2 years and a lot of the budget stuff that's coming down the pike. It's going to be a tough budget, and Ayotte, the new governor, has already alluded to that. She was live with us in her first radio interview on Friday. Governor Kelly Ayotte right here on Good Morning Hampshire, the Pulse of an H. Again, Good Morning New England, Good Morning Worldwide, the Pulse of an H. Hey, Alexa, hey, Google, the Pulse of an H. Coming up in a little bit, we're going to hear some great Fox News contributors, Rory O'Neill, NBC News Radio national correspondent. Some commentary from yours truly. I really did try. I tried pretty hard and seriously to respect the crisis that was unfolding with the wildfires, really first in Pacific Palisades and then LA County. And then, you heard even in LA, 150,000 people still under evacuation orders. They still do not have a couple of these fires under control. And they can't control, well, they can control a lot of things, but they can't control the winds. And they returned today, heavy winds. But I posted when this began, because I have a friend out there that has a home right on the water, about a half hour from Pacific Palisades, and he was on, I think it was Thursday, with us here. Really a great exclusive interview. We just finished up filming the new movie Superman. But Fahim Fazli is an actor, a good friend in New Hampshire. He's come up here. We've done some events. He's a great supporter of our troops, a wonderful patriot. And he, because he moved here from Afghanistan and served with the Marines as an actor, an interpreter to ferret out the Taliban in his native land, became an American legally, as he reminds people. But he was on the show last week talking about how close his house came to being destroyed and so many others. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the aerial footage before and after of Pacific Palisades. It does look like a very big, like a nuclear blast went off. That's what it looks like. And the people living there say that. But the people living there are not too happy because they feel that leadership at all levels. So let me just try and sort this out. The mayor who was in Ghana to see the vice president, the ceremonies, was away, despite weather forecasts saying that, what didn't look good. But that, timing's timing. So that may be bad timing for her, the mayor. She's blaming the fire chief. The fire chief, I think, is more correctly blaming the mayor for cutting the budget and placing priorities not on firefighters. And the Governor Newsom, and this is relevant because he's Mr. Wonderful, right? He's the bench of the Democrat Party maybe next time around, but I think that's over. I think that's over. In his first interview, because this has really been, I think tomorrow, it's a full week, right, J-Doc? I think it was like January 7th this started. He does an interview and he blames local officials in LA County for not telling him in the governor's office how bad it was. You're the governor. You're in charge, you goofball. You're the governor. Can you imagine if Newsom had an R at the end of his name for governor instead of a D? Oh, my goodness. Can you imagine CNN if this was a Republican governor out there? This inept? Imagine DeSantis in Florida if he was, and he hasn't been. He's been an amazing leader at a time of natural disaster and Mother Nature with these hurricanes and things you can't control. He was in charge. You could sense it down there. Each hurricane, you can tell Florida, the brunt of it, they've been hit hard, and these are storms that are the worst in 100 years, and DeSantis was in charge and stemmed a lot of the damage. But the finger pointing, the blaming. So I tried to say at a time of crisis, I'm not going to weigh in, but I've not even seen leadership emerge yet. I've not even seen leadership emerge yet. And it's been like this long, this many days. Leadership is you may not have all the answers, but you're in charge. Leadership is you instill some comfort, just like the parents in a family. If there's crisis in the family, someone's got to step up and say, okay, this sucks. This is terrible, but this is how we're getting out of this. This is the game plan. Even if the plan, it's like during war. Even if the plan doesn't go perfectly as planned, you need a plan. You need leadership. You need direction. And Newsom actually says he blames local officials for not letting him know how bad it was. Weren't you watching the news, you moron? Weren't you watching Pacific Palisades burn up? I mean, as governor, you know the area and then the nearby fires, you're watching this unfold. So where's the rapid deployment of National Guard? I mean, New York City was offering the best firefighters in the world right after 9/11. No, we're all set. We don't need them. Budget cuts, priorities, and a lot of this stuff you're seeing on social media is not untrue. They were more focused on climate change agenda items than having the reserves to fight a fire like this. Everything from, different water management levels in the reservoirs for different reasons or cutting firefighter budget. And you're the governor. You're in charge. The buck stops with you. And you're blaming local officials. The mayor's blaming the fire chief. The fire chief is blaming the mayor. The governor's blaming the local officials. I mean, is this leadership? I think it's finger pointing. And I got to tell you, if I lost my home, I'd be livid. I'd be BS. I'd be livid. I go, are you kidding me? They're blaming each other and not telling me what the game plan here is. I mean, there's nothing to go back to. If you lost your home and it burned to the ground, there's nothing to go back to. And I don't know about you. I don't know if parts of these communities are ever going to be rebuilt because do you want to go back there after this? I mean, it's going to be years, plural. And it's ironic because the Democrats with Biden on the way out and Harris heading back there to California, I think her home was nearly burned. I mean, I read over the weekend. Now, don't saying this is good for her. It's a bit terrible. Police got a couple people in her home breaking in. And that's another problem out there is the people taking advantage of the crisis and breaking into what's left. But I got to tell you, whatever the Democrat bench is in 2028, I don't think Newsom's on it anymore. And that's our poll question today on X, our brand new feature this morning, our daily poll question on X, the Pulse of an H on X. The Pulse of an H on X. Do you think Governor Newsom has been an effective leader in the time of these wildfires? Yes or no? I think it's a clear no, but what do you think? We'll be back, Neil Vec, talking about some of the local political stuff with new leadership on the Pulse of an H in a moment. All right, welcome back. Welcome back on this Monday. I do hope you had a good weekend. It's sort of surreal, isn't it, to see what's happening out in LA County and Los Angeles and those communities. I can't even imagine how many years. I mean, I'm looking at these, and this is going to be such a mammoth disaster that it's going to affect people well beyond California and LA County. Trust me, whether it's insurance crisis or just taxpayer dollars, this is huge. Could be 5 to 10 years if ever some of these communities rebuild. And all I see is finger pointing. Neil Vec, Institute of Politics, St. Anselm College, joining us, one of our regular political contributors and analysts and all-stars on this Monday morning. Good morning, Neil. Now, I didn't want to start with this, but it does tie into your institute and what you do on presidential politics. And I know there's 1 week to go before Donald Trump is officially back physically in the White House. Joe Biden, 1 week, gone, days, counting the hours. And he is leaving as one of the lowest approval ratings, I think, of any modern day president in about 2 decades. And I think for good reason. And Kamala Harris is now, I think damaged goods ran twice going back out to California. Um, so the Democrats are looking at who their bench is. And do you agree with me on what you've seen after about a week that Gavin Newsom, who probably was on that bench, he's already got his national PAC form for 2028. I think he's probably not even in the locker room anymore based on this inept leadership, because people at all levels, including a lot of liberal Hollywood elites, are fuming mad that there's no leadership out there, even if it's insurmountable Mother Nature with strong winds fueling this thing as an accelerant. Where's the leadership? So I'm just wondering, do you think Newsom's stock has gone down? Yeah. All right. Well, we have a new governor. Gave her inaugural address. Budget is going to be a big theme in the next 2 years. Is obviously less federal money coming in. But what are your thoughts on how things are kicking off as we get underway here in January in Concord? Mhm. It's yeah. Yeah, Neil Vec, it's interesting because Democrats here will say, you know, we don't have a sanctuary city problem. We're not Massachusetts. But Kelly Ayotte on my show Friday in her speech said, no, that's not how she looks at it. She goes, we're not going to become that. We're not going to have their problems because we're not going to do that. And she's going to be looking to support a real ban on sanctuary cities because she's not backing down on her criticism of Massachusetts, something some people wish that she would, but obviously it was part of her election. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I appreciate it. Listen, we gotta run. Yep. All right. Listen, you have a good one. Enjoy your Monday. I know it's back to work for you. You had about a month off. Thanks, Neil. All right, we come back. Former ambassador, former U.S. senator, and maybe U.S. Senate candidate here in New Hampshire, Scott Brown is going to weigh in on some of the Trump nominees on Capitol Hill making the rounds this week as early as tomorrow. Back on the Pulse of Nature in a moment. I mean, this is just unbelievable out there, but we'll see. But someone who served in the first Trump administration, former ambassador to New Zealand, former U.S. Senator and Senate candidate, maybe one again in the U.S. Senate side, Scott Brown of New Hampshire, joining us as an analyst, talking about some of the activities in Washington this week with some of the big key appointees and nominations by Trump. For example, the VA secretary, and of course, Scott Brown has a great background serving in the National Guard and still, I think, active. And he'll correct us in a moment. But also defense secretary this week, going up before Congress, and of course, Trump back physically in the White House next week. Former Senator Scott Brown joining us. Good morning, New Hampshire, the Pulse of an H. Thanks for being with us. Well, thank you. When you look, and you know this process, Capitol Hill, you know it well. When you look at some of these big positions, because the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has been criticized in the past, but he's hung in there. I think Trump's still supporting him. And then, of course, you have Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who may be less of a poll in terms of a challenge to get confirmed. But what are your thoughts on some of these key appointees as we look at that starting as early as this week? But, are you, is there 1 or 2, do you think, like, the defense secretary, it's a big, big job. Look at what's going on in the world and a big part of our budget. Do you think Hegseth will get through? He's a combat veteran, but he was criticized in some of the personal stuff. Do you think he'll get enough support, if you had to say? Right. Yeah. Well, and of course, you were at Fox when Pete Hegseth was doing a lot of the commentary and you were doing analysis. What about Tulsi Gabbard? I'm not sure why, but the national security. Why is some people? I mean, she seems former presidential candidate. I mean, wouldn't she be properly vetted already? Yeah. What about Bobby Kennedy? You referenced him for health. I think the healthcare system's a racket and could use a shakeup. It's become a system of illness and sickness, not health and wellness and preventative. Do you think he gets through? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it can't get any worse, so maybe it could. Hey, let's switch gears. You had mentioned before the holidays that you were seriously considering looking at running as a Republican for this next U.S. Senate race, which, even though we're in 2025, really starts pretty soon here because these Senate races are big. You've already been involved in one with Senator Jeanne Shaheen, so it's 2026. She was on my show, I think, the same day you and Governor Sununu were, and I asked her. She's looking at it, but not saying anything right now. I'm hearing from the inside track that she may well run again. Are you still seriously looking in that? And then, if you are, I had a question on a current issue before the Senate. All right. Well, I want to ask you this one question. If you were to run, it is germane. The first bill that Congress, the House, took up, I think, after being sworn in on a Monday, was this Lake and Riley Act. Speaking of illegal immigration, Venezuelan criminal who murdered Lake and Riley. Basically, it says that if an illegal migrant or migrant seeking asylum commits burglary or robbery in the U.S., they need to be detained. In some cities, in Boston, New York, have not been doing that. Judges been kicking these criminals once they're caught out. No bail. Chris Pappas, Democrat, Maggie Goodlander, Democrat, first and second district, joined 46 other Democrats in the House with Republicans to pass it. Now it's off to the Senate. Senator Shaheen quickly saying a day or so after that she'll support it. I think a year ago, I don't think she was in favor of this. What's your reaction to her if she supports that, and what maybe Senator Maggie Hass and how they'll vote? And do you think that's interesting or not? Well, if you do make the decision to run, when you've done it before, when roughly would you make your decision whether you are or not going to be known publicly? All right, Scott Brown, thanks for joining us out of the gate on a Monday. Make it a good one. All right, when we come back, Doug Tangton, our economist, World Market Advisors. The market's been down the last few trading sessions. Why is that going to continue? Hey, Google. Hey, Alexa. Play the Pulse of an H. Also streaming on YouTube. And now on X, the Pulse of an H on X. Our poll question: do you think Governor Newsom has been an effective leader managing the wildfires of LA County? Back in a moment. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. A lot going on for a Monday here, Washington, LA County, Los Angeles. Unbelievable. Breaking stuff. Let's get back to the economy. I'm not a big daily check the stocks and trade person, but I know some people who are. I don't know how their Netflix are doing, but the markets have been down last few sessions and maybe continuing today. I'm not sure why. Doug Tengden, World Market Advisors. Good morning, Doug. I'm good. How you doing? Tell us what's going on. Yeah, good stuff. Well, again, you're going to see back and forth, but some of the polls are not polls, economists, um, Bank of America before the holidays, one of their leading economists, a great partner and sponsor, and we heard it locally, and I think you talked about it. 2025, independent business owners are optimistic and bullish on hiring. They feel good. That could translate to pretty continued good traction, I guess, with the economy, with some signs that things were gonna slow down this year. It could actually prove to be okay or what? What about real estate locally? Governor Kelly Ayotte talked about it on my show Friday, her inaugural address. Affordable housing continues to be a major issue here locally, but we still see, real estate prices, rents very high, the cost of living very high here. All right, what else is catching your eye now that we're a few weeks into the new year? All right, good stuff. Doug, I guess we're cruising here. We're 13 days. It's not Friday the 13th, Monday the 13th. Thank you, Doug. All right, Doug Tangden with World Market Advisors. You can check out the site, worldmarketadvisors.com. Thank you. All right, some of the other stories coming up. Anna Brown, Citizens Count's going to weigh in on the budget, the big budget, which will be a story here in the next 2 years in New Hampshire between Governor Ayotte, the new administration, and lawmakers. That's coming up next. One of the other big issues that was swirling around here locally is the question of legalizing marijuana, legalizing pot for greater recreational use. It seems to be a non starter with the current makeup in the state Senate and the new governor. That's one of the stories we're hearing. But That'll be coming up with Anna Brown. We have a new feature on the Pulse of an Inch. Got a lot of new stuff. You got to keep moving, right? Or you stand still. Got to keep moving, keep swimming. Our daily poll question on X. The Pulse of NH on X. Do you think Governor Newsom is doing an effective job as leader in California with these incredible, terrible wildfires? Today, of course, yes or no, that's up there. We'll have results for you later on tomorrow, each morning, our new poll question. As we get going this morning, the Santa Ana winds picking up again. That's the last thing. They need out there. You know, the Pacific Palisades and the Eaton Fire there are considered to be the most destructive in California history. And we've gone through, really going back to Hurricane Ian, speaking of Mother Nature, when that hit much of Florida and the Gulf Coast. And, of course, we saw Helene up into North Carolina with the floods. We saw Milton. I mean, I can't keep track of them all. But one thing about Florida and Ron DeSantis, I'm just going to call it the way I see it, balls and strikes, the way I see it. He hit the strike zone because he was out in front leading, whether it was down in this county or that county. DeSantis didn't blame Sarasota County officials for not telling him how bad the hurricane water surge and damage was. He was leading. And I'm looking at California. I mean, I've never seen such a failure of leadership in my adult life. We've had a lot of disastrous things in our country and world. People, especially when your house burns to the ground, or not just your house, the whole community, bigger than Manhattan. I mean, one of the residents who, ironically, Fahim Fawzi was on my show last Thursday from his home in Laguna Beach near Malibu Beach, about 35 minutes from the epicenter of Pacific Palisades and the Eaton Fire. He was telling me that people out there, like, they don't feel that anyone's in charge. He just finished up filming the movie Superman. It comes out this summer, I think, in June or July. And one of the other actors in that lost his home. He had 2 other homes he had in that area for rental. And he said, they both said that they just feel that the leaders are not leading, and their agenda was different than making sure the firefighters had enough budget, enough firefighters, period, enough water, enough tools, enough plans to fight these things. These fires are not new. This is the worst ever. The cost and the devastation it's hard to calculate right now. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be $150 billion. I have no idea. It's going to be years. But when you have a crisis in your state, most governors know today that you're in charge. The governor's in charge. And the governor can't blame a mayor. Now, the mayor, who was away and out of the country in Ghana for some political, inaugural stuff of the vice president in Ghana, the mayor was out of the country. The mayor comes back, is getting criticism, LA County. She's blaming the fire chief. The fire chief is blaming the mayor. But what about Gavin Newsom? You're the governor. I mean, I don't mean to say anything. This is the same inept leader that during all the COVID crap, he's like an enemy to business out there. Talk to any business owner, or hospitality, or restaurant owner. He shuts them all down, and he's out to dinner with 10 or 20 of his buddies in a restaurant. Talk about hypocrisy. Kind of like when Nancy Pelosi was getting her hair done in San Diego when all the salons and barbershops were shut down. So Newsom says in his first major press conference that he's not happy. He's upset with local officials in LA County. They didn't tell him how bad it was. You're in charge, you moron. You're the leader. You're the governor. There's one governor. It falls with you. Sorry if you don't like it with that woman who approached you on the street when you were looking at the damage, asking you, what's the plan when she lost her home? She lost her home. You didn't. Where's the leadership? All I see is finger pointing. At a time of crisis, you need a game plan. You need a leader. Now, not everyone's a born leader, but when you run for office and you're the governor of a state, you damn well better be a leader or get out, because not everything's hunky-dory. And if any ambitions you had to run for president are about gone, you did it to yourself by not being a leader. See, in times of crisis, people look at you. They looked at DeSantis in Florida and they saw leadership. They look at certain other governors, they see leadership. And sometimes they see failure. But right now they're seeing finger pointing. And guess what? You could have shined and you failed. What is it? America's Got Talent? I think you just got gonged. Good luck to you. I don't think you're on the bench in 2020. You had your week. Someone better emerge out there with a game plan. All right, coming up, more local stuff. Hey, Alexa, Google, play the Pulse of an H. Back in a few.